My brother let me use his phone on our trip. I opened the group chat by mistake and saw a full thread making fun of me for trying to buy our love after I paid for everything. What they wrote hurt more than I thought. So I booked my flight home early, canceled every reservation in my name, and left a note on the fridge that said, "Didn't know kindness was something to laugh at, enjoy the bill." I never thought a group chat could utterly shatter me. But when I saw what my family really thought of me, every penny I'd spent on our dream vacation turned into a burning ember in my gut. The cool night air of the Florida coast usually brought peace, but that night, it only magnified the hum of the fridge and the crushing silence around me. My phone, clutched in my trembling hand, held proof of a betrayal I wasn't prepared for. It wasn't just some silly, harmless teasing. This was a deep, cutting betrayal, cloaked in sarcasm, built on years of resentment they never had the guts to say aloud. And the cruelest twist? I'd paid for everything. The sprawling rental house, the flights, every meal, the gas, every excursion, even those ridiculous matching hoodies. Over $5,000 I'd shelled out, thinking I was creating something beautiful, something unforgettable. I thought I was reconnecting with them, finally being seen. Turns out, I was just handing them new material for a laugh. My name's Ethan. I'm 33, living quietly in Colorado. By most standards, I'm doing well. Stable remote tech job, a modest house I paid off early, zero debt. I'm not flashy about it. I drive a used Subaru, still rock an older iPhone, cook most of my meals at home. But I've always carried this heavy chip on my shoulder when it came to my family. My younger brother, Liam, he's 29, loud, charming, naturally athletic. The kind of guy people just gravitate towards. He's always been the golden boy. Then there's my older sister, Chloe, 36. Sharp, always busy, a mom of two who steamrolls conversations without even realizing it. My parents, Sarah and Robert, now retired, are nice in that polite, never dig too deep sort of way. We don't fight, we don't get vulnerable. We do polite holidays and occasional calls. That's it. I've always been the background character, reliable, quiet, always offering help. Never truly included, but always expected to show up. 2 years ago, an idea sparked in my head. Maybe, just maybe, a real trip was what we needed. Not just another awkward Thanksgiving dinner or a long weekend. Something with sunshine, ocean air, no room for excuses. I figured if I planned every detail, covered all costs, and kept it simple, maybe we'd finally feel like more than just people who shared DNA. Maybe we could be a family again. I pitched it during Christmas. Chloe's youngest had just thrown up on the couch, and Liam was glued to Instagram. I stood up, trying to keep my voice even. What if we did a Florida beach trip next summer? My treat. I'll book the house, cover flights, take care of food. You just show up. They looked at me like I'd grown a second head. My mom, Sarah, murmured, "Oh, honey, that's generous." Chloe immediately started drilling me on dates and kid-proofing. Liam, of course, joked about needing good Wi-Fi and cute bartenders. No one said thank you. But no one said no. So, I took that as a green light. Weeks blurred into a frantic search for rentals, comparing flights, meticulously planning kid-friendly activities and adult-friendly dinners. I found this beautiful house on the Florida coast, walking distance to the beach, hot tub, enough rooms for everyone. Booked flights, rental cars, even a local seafood restaurant for our first night. I stocked up on snacks for the kids, drinks for the adults, groceries for every breakfast. Paid all the deposits, sent detailed itineraries in a shared Google Drive. Chloe didn't open it. Liam just sent sick and vanished for 3 weeks. Still, no one said no. When the trip finally arrived, I was a bundle of nerves. I landed early, picked everyone up from the airport, smiling like an overly enthusiastic Airbnb host. Chloe looked utterly exhausted, wrestling car seats, snapping at her husband. Liam strolled out with just a backpack, asking if there'd be beer. My parents, Sarah and Robert, were last. Robert limped slightly from his recent hip replacement, and Sarah was hauling enough luggage for a month. I took care of everything. Loaded bags, drove the rental, checked us in, bought groceries that first night while they rested. I cooked dinner while Liam watched TV and Chloe scrolled her phone. When I finally sat down to eat, no one had waited. The kids were already upstairs, playing with the sand toys I'd bought. My mom, Sarah, said, "This is lovely, Ethan," but her eyes were fixed on her plate. My dad, Robert, just nodded, "Good fish." Chloe asked about almond milk. Liam said nothing at all. Still, I told myself, it's fine. It's just the warm-up. Things will loosen up once we've had a few beach days. I tried to ignore Liam not offering to split the grocery bill. I swallowed it when Chloe just took the nicest bedroom for her kids. I even let it go when my mom, Sarah, offered to fix the eggs after I'd already made breakfast, then remade the entire thing. When Liam borrowed my phone charger and lost it at the beach, I just sighed. I was trying so desperately to be the bigger person, the glue, the one who finally made our family feel whole. The first crack in that illusion appeared on the second night. We were on the patio after dinner, the one meal we'd all eaten together without someone disappearing halfway through. Liam was snickering at his phone. Chloe was doing a puzzle with her daughter. My mom, Sarah, sipped wine, staring at the ocean. Liam looked up, a grin spreading across his face. "Man, some people really think money buys connection, huh?" I looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. He just shrugged. "Just saying. Funny how some folks think booking a house makes them a hero or something." Chloe chuckled without looking up. "Well, better than doing nothing, I guess," she said. My stomach twisted. I wanted to ask if they were talking about me, but I didn't. I just laughed along, telling myself I was being paranoid. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in the living room, scrolling through pictures from the day, Daniel building a sandcastle, Robert dozing under an umbrella, Chloe laughing with her husband. I felt a strange, aching warmth. Maybe all this effort is worth it. Maybe they'll remember this. Maybe they'll finally see me. I was still smiling when Liam came downstairs, yawning, phone in hand. "Hey man, my phone's dead," he said. "Mind if I borrow yours to call Bethany?" His on-again, off-again girlfriend. I handed it over, no hesitation. "Sure," I said, "lock code's 2007. He nodded, made his call, paced the patio, then came back in. "Thanks," he mumbled, tossing my phone gently on the couch. I picked it up after he left, noticed a bunch of apps were still open. Texts, GroupMe. I went to close them. That's when I saw it. A group chat titled Fam Jam Ethan Free. My heart dropped. The name itself stung. My thumb hovered. "Don't look," I told myself. "It's probably nothing. An old thread from college." But my name was right there. And a new message at the top, from Chloe. I tapped it open. What I read made my face go cold. Chloe's first message: "Did you see how he laid out all the beach towels like we're staying at a resort?" Followed by a laughing emoji. Then Liam, "Bro thinks he's some kind of dad now, just waiting for him to schedule a family bonding circle after dinner." Chloe again, all this just to feel included. It's kind of sad if you think about it. And then, the one that physically hurt, from my mom, Sarah, "Well, at least he's trying." Some people express love with money, I guess. My dad, Robert, hadn't commented, but he'd left a thumbs up reaction. A thumbs up. Like he approved. I kept scrolling. Pages and pages of it. Every small, thoughtful thing I'd done twisted into a punchline. When I bought extra sunscreen and aloe vera because Chloe's kid got burnt, Liam wrote, "He's doing the full dad cosplay." What's next? Personalized fanny packs? Chloe replied, "Stop it." loudly crying face. I wouldn't be surprised if he gave us all laminated itineraries. My mom, Sarah, added, I just hope he doesn't think this means we owe him anything. There was more. So much more. He really thinks this trip makes up for all those years of not showing up. Cute. All this effort just to be seen. He doesn't even realize we've already moved on without him. Let him play vacation host. Just keep smiling so he doesn't go full sad boy on us. I sat there on the couch, my phone trembling in my hand. Each word dug deeper. I felt a burning heat spread from my chest into my neck. I blinked, desperately hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something less cruel. But they stayed there, burned into the screen. It was like every passing doubt I'd ever had about my place in this family had finally been confirmed, with receipts. The worst part was how deeply I'd believed I was building something good here, finally being included. Instead, I was the punchline to a private joke I never even knew existed. The room was so quiet I could hear the fridge humming. Everyone else was asleep. Outside, the waves kept rolling in, oblivious. I stared at that screen for what felt like an hour. Eventually, I set the phone face down on the coffee table. Walked outside barefoot, sat on the deck in the cold coastal air, knees pulled to my chest, just like I was 10 years old again. And that's when it hit me. Not just what I'd read, but everything that came before it. It's strange how fast memories sharpen when you're hurt. Little things I'd brushed off suddenly felt razor sharp. Chloe never asked how my work was going. Liam used my car for beer and didn't even refill the tank. When I offered to take her kids for mini golf so Chloe and her husband could have a date night, she told me, you don't need to keep trying so hard. My mom, Sarah, constantly asked if I was seeing anyone, then sighed, disappointed, every time I said no. My dad, Robert? He'd said exactly 7 sentences to me since we arrived. The next morning, I said nothing. I acted like everything was perfectly fine. I made pancakes for everyone, even remembered vegan ones for Chloe's husband, which he didn't touch. I loaded the dishwasher. I laughed when Liam told a story about his high school friends. I helped my dad, Robert, down to the beach and set up the umbrella. All the while, I kept thinking, they have no idea I know. But once the illusion cracks, it doesn't uncrack. Everything felt performative, brittle, like we were all actors in a clumsy play, and I was the fool dressed in generosity. On day 3, things really tipped. I was walking back from a coffee run, yes, for everyone, with their orders noted in my phone, when I overheard Liam on the patio, pacing, talking low. I slowed my steps just enough to hear, staying hidden behind the half-closed sliding door. She's already said we can crash at her place in Miami after this, he said. Honestly, thank God, dude. I'm losing my mind with Mr. Cruise Director. If I have to sit through one more of his family moments, I'm going to puke. A pause, then a chuckle. Nah, he paid for everything. Flights, house, food, all him. It's like his sad little redemption tour. Chloe calls it the guilt trip. Pretty accurate, huh? I stepped back before I could hear more. Walked around the side of the house, waited 5 minutes, then came back in through the front door like nothing had happened. Liam nodded at me, grabbed his caramel macchiato without a word of thanks, and went back to scrolling on the couch. The rest of the day felt like a slow-motion collapse. Every comment, every glance, every moment of silence echoed louder. At dinner, my mom, Sarah, told Chloe how sweet it was that she brought homemade cookies. Chloe beamed. I had cooked the entire meal. No mention. At one point, Chloe told me to stop hovering when I tried to help her kids with their sand toys. My dad, Robert, asked me to turn down the music on the patio, music Liam had chosen. Chloe's husband offered to grill but handed the tongs back to me 5 minutes later because he didn't know how the temperature settings worked. That night, I went to bed early. But not before triple-checking every reservation and charge still lined up in my name. It's strange how quickly it happens, that moment when disappointment turns into clarity. When the voice in your head finally says, they're not going to change. You don't have to keep trying. The breaking point came the next morning. I'd gone out early for another grocery run, because of course, no one else thought to. I figured I'd stock up on snacks, drinks, maybe some pastries. It was our 4th day, and I was still clinging to this ghost of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could turn around. When I pulled back into the driveway, I immediately noticed something off. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked in through the front door, balancing bags on both arms. And there, at the kitchen table, were Chloe, Liam, and my mom, Sarah. Liam had his phone out, they were all looking at it. My mom, Sarah, looked up at me like a kid caught stealing cookies. Chloe froze. Liam didn't. He just smirked. Hey, Ethan. You ever think about how weird it is that you're the only one not in the group chat? I froze. Something about his voice, the way he said it, like it was a joke but not really. Chloe muttered, Liam, but he just kept going. No, seriously, we've had it for months now. All the trip planning and stuff. Yeah, we moved it out of the main chat 'cause you were getting intense. Chloe added, we didn't mean anything by it. You were just kind of overwhelming. The spreadsheets, the daily plans. It was a lot. I set the bags down, slowly. You made a group chat without me? I asked, my voice quiet. Liam shrugged. Don't take it so personally, man. You know you can be a little much. Always planning things, double-checking, trying to make everything perfect. Chloe nodded. We just wanted space to vent. That's all. You didn't do anything wrong. I laughed. I actually laughed, which seemed to throw them off. Ethan, my mom, Sarah, started gently, you've always had a big heart. But sometimes people need to make their own plans, too. You don't have to control everything. Control. That word echoed in my head like a slap. I wasn't trying to control anything. I was trying to give, to share, to build. And they saw it as control. That's when Liam, sweet, always charming Liam, delivered the final punch. Look, he said, standing up. You don't have to keep buying our love, bro. We're family. You don't need to pay for everything just to be included. Something snapped inside me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood there, staring at them. These people I'd bent over backwards for, people I thought I loved. People who thought love was something I was trying to purchase. In that quiet moment, something shifted. I calmly picked up my phone, opened the airline app, booked the earliest flight back to Colorado. Then I opened every reservation in my name, rental cars, excursions, dinner bookings, even the theme park tickets for the kids. And I canceled every single one. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. I had one more thing to do. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, eyes wide open, the sound of the waves outside mocking me. Everyone else was asleep, or pretending to be. I was in the upstairs guest room, staring at the ceiling like it held answers. Every few minutes, my mind looped another line from that group chat. Another joke at my expense. Another smile that now felt fake in hindsight. The emotional whiplash was unreal. I went from being the glue trying to hold this family together to realizing I was just duct tape on something they didn't even want fixed. But during those silent hours, something strange happened. The ache began to dull. It didn't vanish, not even close, but it changed. It hardened, turning into something sharp and solid. And somewhere around 3 a.m., I stopped feeling the need to cry. I started planning. The next morning, I woke before the sun. No shower. No teeth brushing. I just got dressed, grabbed my backpack, and walked into the kitchen. The house was quiet, still, as if it knew what was coming. I took a sticky note and a Sharpie from the junk drawer. I wrote slowly, deliberately, didn't realize generosity was something to laugh at. Enjoy the bill. I stuck it dead center on the fridge door. Then, I walked out. I called an Uber to the airport, got through security, and sat by my gate 4 hours early. It wasn't even 9 a.m. My flight was the only thing moving forward in my life right then. Everything else felt stalled, but somehow, I felt still. No more spiraling. No more replaying conversations. Just stillness. As I boarded the plane, I didn't look back. I didn't check my phone. I didn't send a message. I didn't even post on social media. I let them find out on their own after they'd finished breakfast. It was a long flight, giving me plenty of time to think. And that's where the real unraveling began. You can leave a place. You can walk away. You can even cancel the credit card that paid for the rental car, which I absolutely did. Enjoy that whole fee, Chloe. But what you can't leave behind is the feeling of betrayal. It clings to you like salt water in your clothes. The plane landed, and I got home, unlocked my front door, stepped inside. And then I just stood there, in the quiet, in the emptiness. And I broke. I didn't even make it to the couch. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, and let it all out. All the things I hadn't let myself feel at that rental house. The humiliation, the bitterness, the raw, bleeding ache of realizing you were never truly seen. Not the way you hoped, not the way you tried to be. I cried ugly, heaving sobs that left me depleted. I hadn't cried like that in years, maybe ever. That was rock bottom. I spent the next day in pajamas. Didn't answer calls. Didn't check texts. My phone buzzed a few times, one from Chloe, one from Liam, a long, rambling one from my mom, Sarah, that started with, "We're worried about you," and ended with, "We didn't mean to hurt you." I didn't read them. Couldn't. Not yet. I ordered takeout. Watched a documentary with the volume too low. Sat in my backyard until it got cold. I talked to no one. But on the third day, something shifted. It started with eggs. I woke up early, not on purpose. My body just refused to sleep anymore. I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, saw a carton of eggs. So, I cooked. Nothing fancy. Just scrambled eggs, toast, black coffee. The smell filled the house, and for some reason, it made me feel human again. I sat down, took a bite, and thought, okay, one normal thing. One thing that's mine. Then I opened my laptop. I hadn't checked work email since the trip began. My company wasn't the type to micromanage during paid time off, but I figured there'd be a few things needing my attention. What I didn't expect was an email from our vice president of product. Subject line, "Are you ready?" Inside, "We're ready to move you to lead. If you are, let's talk when you're back." Well deserved, Ethan. I stared at it for a long time. I'd been quietly grinding for years, doing good work, taking on extra projects, mentoring junior developers. Never flashy, never loud. Just showing up, again and again, in the background. And now someone finally saw it. Not because I begged, not because I paid for it, but because I earned it. And that? That felt profoundly different. I replied, "I'm ready." That was the first domino. Over the next few weeks, I settled back into routine. Started waking up early again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I laced up my running shoes for the first time in months, just to jog around the block at first, but it felt good to breathe. I cleaned out the spare room, turned it into a proper office. Ordered a real desk, not the cheap folding table I'd been using since I moved in. I started therapy. I told my therapist, a kind woman named Isabella, everything. The vacation, the group chat, the note on the fridge, the crying on the floor. She didn't interrupt, didn't rush to fix it, just let me speak. Then she looked at me and said, "You've spent your whole life trying to be enough for people who don't know how to see you. That's exhausting, Ethan. What would it look like if you stopped?" I didn't have an answer then, but I started trying to find one. Around that time, I reconnected with Julian, an old college friend. He saw one of my Instagram stories, a picture of a sunrise from my backyard with the caption, "Still here." He messaged me, "Yo, you alive? Want to get coffee?" I said yes. Julian was the kind of friend you didn't have to perform for. We hadn't talked in months, but the moment we sat down, it felt easy, real. I didn't go into the whole story, but I told him I'd just been through a rough family trip. He winced. "Dude," he said. "Been there. Families can suck the soul out of you without even noticing." "You okay?" I asked. "I will be," I said. And I meant it. We started hanging out again. Movies, hikes, late-night taco runs. He introduced me to his circle, artists, coders, musicians, wonderful weirdos. People who didn't care what job you had or how much you made. They just appreciated good stories and good company. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was auditioning. One night, a month or so after the trip, we were sitting around a bonfire in Julian's backyard. Someone handed me a beer. Someone else passed a guitar. Someone asked what I did. I told them about my job, but also that I'd recently started writing again. Just short stories. Nothing big. They asked to read one. I said, maybe. Later that night, walking home under the stars, buzzed on cheap beer and soft laughter, I thought, this is what I was chasing. Not family, not approval. Connection. Real connection. And here's the wild part, the more I stopped chasing my family's love, the more I started to see how little of it was ever really there. Not in the way I needed it. Chloe sent another text. Long, apologetic, but hollow. She said, "You're taking this too personally." Which basically erased everything else. Liam left a tipsy-sounding voicemail. "Come on, man. It was just jokes. You know, we love you. But love that has to be proven with humiliation isn't love, it's control." And I was done with that. I didn't block them. I just stopped replying. In the silence that followed, I found something better than closure. I found peace. I started volunteering at a local mentorship program for teens interested in tech. I taught a few weekend classes. One kid, Daniel, reminded me a lot of myself at that age. Quiet, observant, desperate to be good at something. I helped him build his first app. He emailed me a week later, "Thanks. No one's ever really believed in me like that before." That message made me cry harder than anything else had. I was rebuilding. Not loud, not dramatic, just piece by piece. The rise was slow, uneven. There were still days I'd think about that chat thread and feel the burn. Still moments I'd catch myself wondering what it would have felt like if they'd just said, "Thank you." But those moments grew fewer, softer. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't begging to be seen. I was learning to stand in the light by myself. And then, just as the wounds were finally starting to scab over, something unexpected showed up at my door. A package. No return address, just my name in Chloe's handwriting. Inside was something I hadn't seen in years. A photo. Me, Liam, and Chloe. Summer 2002. We were at the lake, sunburnt, grinning. I was holding a fishing rod too big for me, and Liam had just splashed me. We looked like siblings, real ones. Taped to the back was a note, "You deserved better than we gave you." I'm sorry. I mean that. Call me when you're ready. I stared at that photo for a long time. And that's when the next part of the story began. I didn't call her. Not right away. For days, the photo sat on my desk, half tucked under my monitor, like some kind of test. Every time I sat down to work, there it was. Grinning versions of us, frozen in time. Before we all grew into roles we never asked for. Before the sarcasm, before the guilt, before the realization that being family didn't mean being kind. Her note haunted me, you deserved better than we gave you. Part of me desperately wanted to believe it, that maybe this was the turning point. That Chloe had finally stepped off her high horse and looked around. But the smarter part, the part that had been ignored at every dinner table, brushed off at every holiday, quietly ridiculed in every group chat, told me to be cautious. She hadn't said, we were wrong. She hadn't said, we're sorry for laughing at your kindness. Just that I deserved better. An acknowledgement of the symptom, not the disease. So, I didn't call. Instead, I watched. Because when someone shows you who they are, you start noticing the ways they always were. It started with Liam. A week after the package arrived, Julian sent me a screenshot. He and I had stayed close, closer than ever, really. And we'd started bouncing ideas off each other for a side project, a mentorship platform for first-generation tech kids. A proper, scalable one. Not just volunteer shifts, but a startup with teeth. The screenshot was of Liam's Instagram story. He was in Miami, shirtless on a rooftop pool, holding an obnoxious orange drink. The caption, some people buy vacations to feel loved. Others just live. I didn't need to wonder who he was talking about. I didn't respond. Julian already knew the backstory. Instead, I saved the screenshot. Later that night, I opened the group chat thread again. I hadn't touched it since the trip. It still hurt. That buzzing, acidic hurt that makes your ears warm and your teeth clench. But this time, I wasn't looking for pain. I was looking for patterns. And what I found was a goldmine. They simply couldn't help themselves. Chloe and Liam, especially. Screenshots, gossip, petty jabs. They'd been mocking me for months before the trip, long before the towels and spreadsheets. They called it the Ethan Project. Chloe even made a meme at one point, a photoshopped picture of me holding a whiteboard with the caption, How to Win Family Affection in 3 Easy Payments. I read every message, every LOL, every can you believe this, every sarcastic emoji. I took notes, captured timestamps, backed up the entire chat. When I was done, I sat back. All right, I thought. So, this is what we're dealing with. This wasn't immaturity. This was entitlement. I didn't want revenge that looked like anger. I wanted precision. I wanted them to feel what I had felt, not in cruelty, but in clarity. To finally see the impact of their choices. And the best way to do that was to let them come to me. So, I waited. A week after the package, Chloe called. I didn't pick up. She called again 2 days later. Then, Liam texted, Yo, Chloe's trying to reach you. You good? I ignored him too. Instead, I started digging. The more I pulled at the thread, the more it unraveled. Turns out Liam was between jobs again. His last contract gig dried up 2 months before the vacation. He was living with a friend in Miami, hoping to land a podcast deal that hadn't materialized. He was broke, but you wouldn't know it from his social media. Chloe was worse. On the surface, she looked like the picture of suburban efficiency, married with 2 kids, a part-time copywriting job, a homeowner. But behind the scenes, she was drowning. Her husband had lost his job last fall. They were 2 months behind on mortgage payments. Their car lease was up soon, and she was quietly trying to convince my parents, Sarah and Robert, to help them just until things stabilize. None of this was my business, technically. But they had made me their business for years, laughing at my job, my home, my singleness, my quietness. Now they needed help. And I had leverage. Not financial leverage, that's what they expected. What I had now was truth. The power to expose the version of themselves they thought no one saw. The chats, the comments, the jokes, and more importantly, the receipts of what I had done for them, quietly and without fanfare. But that wasn't my endgame. I didn't want to destroy them. I wanted them to see me. And nothing reveals character like the moment someone realizes they've burned the bridge they still need to cross. So, I made a plan. First, I scheduled a dinner. A real one. Neutral location. I booked a cozy, quiet Italian place in town and sent a simple message to Chloe, Liam, and my parents, Sarah and Robert, dinner next Saturday, just us. 7 p.m. My treat. Chloe replied first, "Really? Thank you." Then Liam, "Free food." I'm there. My mom, Sarah, took longer, but finally sent, "Looking forward to it. Love you." I didn't reply. The days leading up to the dinner were oddly peaceful. I felt like someone watching chess pieces shift into place. At work, I accepted the new lead position with grace and quiet confidence. I even hosted a Zoom seminar for interns about emotional resilience in tech. The irony wasn't lost on me. In the background, Julian and I finalized the prototype for the mentorship platform. We pitched it to an angel investor friend of his, just a rough meeting, no expectations. The guy loved it. Asked for a full deck and roadmap. Suddenly, we were building something real. I spent the night before the dinner prepping. Not a speech, not a rant, just a collection of facts. I printed screenshots, timeline summaries, financial breakdowns. Every booking from the vacation, labeled and color-coded. Not to shame, but to show. Because these people lived in a fog of denial, and I was ready to part the clouds. The night of the dinner, I arrived early. The restaurant was dimly lit, all warm wood and soft jazz. I chose a round table near the back. Intimate. No distractions. I sat there with a folder in my bag and fire in my chest. They arrived together. Chloe in a soft blue blouse, Liam in a bomber jacket, my parents, Sarah and Robert, holding hands like they were walking into church. They smiled when they saw me. I didn't smile back. We sat. We ordered. Small talk started. The kids, the weather, some new show on Netflix. I let it happen. I let them settle. I let them pretend this was normal. Then, after the appetizers came, I reached into my bag. "Before we eat," I said, "there's something I need to share." They all looked at me, forks midair. I pulled out the folder, placed it on the table. Inside were the screenshots, the chat logs, the receipts. The total cost of the vacation highlighted at the bottom, $5,842.71. Silence. Liam blinked. Chloe's face drained of color. My mom, Sarah, looked confused. My dad, Robert, just looked tired. "I found the group chat," I said calmly. "All of it. The memes, the jokes, the comments about how I was trying to buy your love. The threads about me being overbearing, desperate, sad." Chloe opened her mouth. I held up a hand. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to clarify. You don't have to love me. You don't have to appreciate me. But what you don't get to do is rewrite reality." I looked each of them in the eye. I paid for everything. Not because I wanted to feel needed, but because I thought, for a second, that this family might want to feel whole again. My voice cracked just slightly, enough. "And instead, you made me the villain of a vacation I built for you. You mocked me privately, repeatedly, and then smiled to my face. Chloe whispered, Ethan, but I kept going. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not even mad anymore. But I needed you to see what you did. Not filtered through your intentions, but through your impact. Silence. And then, for the first time in my life, I watched them squirm. Liam looked away. My mom, Sarah, stared at her lap. Chloe's hands trembled. I leaned back, took a sip of water, and said, Enjoy the food. I'll be leaving before dessert. Then I stood up. I reached into my wallet, pulled out a prepaid gift card, and placed it on the table. Covers the bill, I said. So no one has to worry about me trying to buy love. And with that, I walked out. But that was only the beginning. What came after, the messages, the fallout, the final reckoning, is something you're going to want to hear. I thought walking out of that restaurant would be the end of it. I pictured it so clearly, a quiet exit, the sound of my footsteps down the hallway, the click of the door as I left my family in stunned silence. No one chasing me into the parking lot, no teary apology, just them finally staring at the reflection they'd spent years avoiding, and me, free at last. And in a way, that was the end of trying. But not the end of the story. Because people like Chloe and Liam don't know how to sit with silence. They need noise, control, an explanation to twist into their version of events. So, naturally, they didn't wait long. The next morning, I woke to a barrage of missed calls. 7 from Chloe, 3 from Liam, a long, rambling message from my mom, Sarah, that started with, I don't understand why you had to humiliate us like that, and ended with, this isn't how family behaves. The irony practically lit itself on fire. I didn't reply. But Liam didn't take the hint. 2 days later, I came home from a walk to find him sitting on the hood of my car in my driveway, arms crossed, wearing sunglasses, like this was a music video and not an ambush. Yo, he said, as if we were still boys in a dorm room and not estranged siblings with a wall of betrayal between us. Can we talk? I didn't say anything. Just walked past him, unlocked the front door, and left it open. He followed inside. He tried to lean against the kitchen counter like he owned the place. Classic Liam, never met a boundary he didn't ignore. Look, man, he started. That dinner? That was rough. I didn't answer. Just poured myself a glass of water and waited. He sighed. I get it. Okay, you're mad. We said stuff. Stupid stuff. But it was jokes, Ethan. That's how we are. You know that. Do I? I asked quietly. He faltered. I mean, yeah, we razz each other all the time. You call it raising, I said. But no one else got a private group chat. No one else got edited memes. You didn't make fun of Chloe for planning her kids' birthday parties. You didn't call mom desperate for baking casseroles. Just me. Just the guy trying to make it easier for everyone. He ran a hand through his hair. We didn't mean for it to get that far. Honestly, I didn't think you'd take it like that. That's the problem, I said. You never think. Not about how your words land, not about who you hurt. It's always just jokes with you, Liam. But the punchline is always at someone else's expense. He went quiet. Then, after a beat, he said, well, I came to ask a favor. And there it was. The real reason. I didn't even blink. What do you need? He shifted. So, I'm kind of in between gigs right now. I was supposed to get into this creator house deal, you know, content stuff, networking, whatever. But they pulled out, and I'm trying to keep my podcast going, but I need gear. New mic, editing suite, laptop. I figured maybe you could spot me just to get things rolling again. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Not a joyful laugh, a hollow one. The kind you give when you realize the person in front of you has no shame. You want me to fund your podcast? I asked. Not fund, like, help. You've got the job, the house, the side hustle. You're doing good, man. And you thought showing up after months of mocking me would be the way to get a loan? He looked annoyed now, like I was being difficult. I said I was sorry. No, you didn't. You said that dinner was rough. You said we razz each other. You never said you were sorry for treating me like a joke. You never said you regretted it. You just showed up with your hand out. His jaw clenched. So that's it, huh? You're going to be petty now after everything we've been through? I stepped forward, my voice ice. Petty would be posting the screenshots online. Petty would be forwarding them to Mom's church group. Petty would be texting your ex those DMs I found from when you were still with her. His face went pale. You wouldn't. I won't, I said. Because I don't need to. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for clarity. You don't get to insult me, diminish me, then expect help like nothing happened. That version of me is gone. He stared at me, mouth open. No words. Now get off my property. He left slowly, bitterly, like he couldn't believe the golden goose had closed the door. But I wasn't done. Because while Liam tried to climb his imaginary ladder, Chloe had started her own campaign, the Guilt Tour. She sent long emails, apologies laced with passive aggression. I just want us to be okay again, she wrote. The kids miss their uncle. They don't understand why you're being so distant. She even posted a family throwback photo on Facebook, captioned, "We don't always get it right, but family is forever." The comments were full of awe and beautiful family, and even a few, "Where's Ethan?" replies. I didn't answer. Instead, I made my move. Subtle, surgical, and deeply satisfying. See that mentorship startup Julian and I were building? It had legs. After our pitch, we secured a seed round from 2 angel investors. Not huge money, but enough to launch a beta and build a team. Guess who applied for a remote admin position? Chloe's husband. I nearly didn't notice. He applied under a different email, but his resume gave it away: marketing experience, location, family details. It was him. No cover letter, just a shot in the dark. I showed Julian. Want me to toss it? He asked. I thought for a moment, then smiled. No, let's interview him. We did. Zoom call, professional, brief. He was polite, slightly nervous, clearly hadn't put it together. He told us he was looking for something stable, remote, flexible. Said his wife was stressed lately and he was trying to take pressure off. Totally understand, I said. We value loyalty here. Integrity, transparency. He nodded. 2 days later, I sent a rejection email, politely worded, but final. And I knew Chloe would feel it. Not immediately, but eventually. When he came home and told her. When she asked what company it was. When she realized the name. When she remembered who helped co-found it. And that, more than any confrontation, was enough. I didn't need a meltdown. I didn't need a blow-up. I just needed them to know. To sit in the consequences of their own choices. To realize that the person they treated like a doormat had quietly built something solid under their feet and walked away while they stumbled. I wish I could say the fallout was cinematic, that they begged, that there was a dramatic scene on a rainy street corner. But real life isn't a movie. It's quieter, colder, more permanent. They stopped calling. Eventually, the texts trickled down to none. My mom, Sarah, sent one last message a few weeks later: "We don't know what else to say. I hope you're happy." I really do. I didn't reply. Because I am happy. Not because I got revenge. Not because I outmaneuvered them. But because I finally stopped fighting for scraps from people who were never willing to give. I stopped begging to be seen. I started living as if I mattered. Because I do. And now my life is full of people who see that. Friends who show up. Work that fulfills me. A startup that's already changing lives. I mentor. I run. I laugh. I am whole. And as for them, they're free to keep telling their version of the story, that I'm cold, that I walked away, that I held a grudge. But deep down, they know the truth. Because in the end, I didn't burn the bridge. I just made sure they could never cross it again. And I smiled as I watched them finally realize the door was never locked, they were just never invited. What would you have done in my shoes?